Greetings and welcome to another episode of American Heroes Outdoors. On this episode, we head to Camp Ripley, Minnesota. Camp Ripley is known for the Minnesota National Guard Area Training Center for the state of Minnesota. We start off with the Disabled Veterans Turkey Hunt, which takes place every spring. Then we roll right into Trolling for the Troops, which is a summer staple at Camp Ripley. And finally, we finish everything off with the Disabled Veterans Deer Hunt in the fall of the year. It's important to know that although Camp Ripley hosts these events, the service organizations across the state of Minnesota really are the ones and the driving force behind these adventures for our nation's heroes. So join us, along with the veteran service organizations and Camp Ripley, as we give back to those who have given so much to us.
Throughout history, brave men and women have answered their nation's call to serve. Heroes who have put their life on the line for each other and our freedoms. These are their stories.
American Heroes Outdoors is brought to you by Scheels, Disabled American Veterans of Minnesota, Smoky Hills Outdoor Store, Gate City Bank, Skeeter Boats and Yamaha Outboards, Yamaha Power Products, Woodland Resort, S&S Promotional Group, Wheelers Point Resort, and Ice Castle Fish Houses.
It's early May and we are headed to Camp Ripley to partake in the Veterans Service Organization's Disabled Veteran Turkey Hunt. Camp Ripley is a 53,000-acre military and civilian training facility operated by the Minnesota National Guard and located near the city of Little Falls in the central part of Minnesota. Camp Ripley provides the facilities and the outdoor resources to enable the hunt, and it's the veteran service organizations like the DAV, VFW, and American Legion that help fund the different outdoor activities on site.
You know, the DAV, we partner with American Legion, the VFW, and we're doing these events. And the DAV, we're so proud to be partnering with these other organizations, working together to really making sure that our veterans are able to get back in the outdoors, doing the things that they once enjoyed, maybe because of their disabilities, they don't feel that they can do anymore.
Upon arrival, the veterans and guides are provided a meal by the Little Falls VFW, and then it's downrange to sight in the guns and scout the turkey zones.
Yeah, we're here at the firing range at Camp Ripley. They're going to be shooting their shotguns to make sure that they qualify or make sure they're accurate enough to shoot at turkeys this season. Everybody has to shoot. Everybody has to make sure their guns are on, and if they need any help, that's what the range control is here to do, to assist them.
Sit there, wait, and go ahead and enter the range. My helpers will place you in front of a target. A little off to the right, but I got enough in it to kill it.
We were fortunate enough to be paired up with Korean War veteran Mike Kudrowski. Mike was a Morse code operator and helped intercept Russian communications during the Korean War.
That's when the Korean War was going. I was one of the lucky ones who got to go to Germany. I went to school for Morse code operator. Then I worked the fields all the time out in the country, traveled a lot, picking up, watching the Russians, stealing notes from what the Russians had said. Twice they crossed over a tank. That's all I can remember. That's so long ago. That's many years ago.
Mike has hunted his whole life and has programs like this that allow him to get out and do what he loves. Mike's guide was Tommy Glines from the National Wild Turkey Federation and was in charge of breaking the Morse code for talking turkey.
We located another hot bird, so we reset up with a different ply, different setup. Got a bird gobbling over here. He sounds pretty hot, about the hottest bird we've worked today so far.
The first day of hunting gave us one close encounter with a tom, but the decoying and calling wasn't enough to pique his interest. He slipped just outside a range, and that was the most action we encountered on day one. The second morning, within minutes of getting set up, we had quick action.
Nice job, Mike. Nice job. You hammered him, buddy.
Did I?
You hammered him. Way to go, Army.
I was waiting for his head to turn.
Well,
I don't think I got him in the head, though.
I think you got him in the head. How's that?
Good. That didn't take long.
Well, thank you for your service. We're glad you're here.
Yeah, that's really exciting.
Whether they're World War II veterans, Korea era veterans, Vietnam era veterans, or today's era veterans, the commonality that they share, it doesn't matter the era you're from or when you served, you still served, and that commonality is there. We're all in the same boat. We all been there, done that, and that has a therapeutic effect on veterans. We don't claim to be psychologists or psychiatrists. We're not that. We're veterans, and we're helping other veterans by putting things like this on. And that's what the service orgs are about, the American Legion, the VFW, DAV.
We are a joint effort on this, all hands on deck. We're so proud of the support that we get from all of our donors, all of our sponsors out there. Thank each and every one of them that we're able to put this on, and we're looking forward to doing several years more to do this.
Well, I'd like to communicate to all veterans that a lot of people don't know that this is available to them. I mean, we have a turkey hunt here. We have a deer hunt annually. We have two fishing things going on, Trolley for Troops here. They go to Ely. We have a fishing trip in Ely. Again, it's all open to veterans, and veterans don't realize that it is free to them. They just need to go on any website, along with they go on the DAV website, the American Legion website, or the VFW website, get the applications. They're very simple to fill out. Fill it out, send it in, and hopefully you get drawn and get an opportunity to come up here and have a great time with all the rest of the veterans that are here.
Every June, Camp Ripley hosts the Trolling for Troops event that is funded by the veteran service organizations. This event hits close to home for our American Heroes Outdoors team, as AHO Ambassador Tim Krauth is the event coordinator at Camp Ripley, and our host Scott St. Sauver helped create this event back when he was post commander of Camp Ripley.
This event is always obviously the best event of the year for me because it's something I thought of when we were in Iraq. And I knew my soldiers were always talking about what they missed about home, hunting season, fishing season. So I came to the veteran service organizations, the American Legion, the VFW, the DAV, the Order of the Purple Heart, and I said, hey, what do you think? Do you think that if we took some currently serving soldiers and veterans from any era and any service, that they would come to Camp Ripley and we could take them out fishing and get a group of river guys on the Mississippi River right on Camp Ripley, and then a group of anglers that fish big water like Mille Lacs and get these guys out, and they were all for it. But for me, it means the world. It gets these guys out, it gets them talking about things together. They can solve a lot. Believe it or not, just talking to each other about your experiences and what you've done can help. It can help those that have already served in a combat zone, and for these kids that are like the ones here on the bow ahead of me, if they've not been to a combat zone yet, they're going to. They're going to experience that now. That is the world we live in. So having that mentorship and having that camaraderie, I think, is just important for service members.
The two young men on the bow of Colonel's Florida boat gone astray on Minnesota waters are newly enlisted National Guardsmen and Camp Ripley air traffic controllers Connor Cozine and Cole Tippler.
Well, I had family members that were in, and I figured it would be a good idea for me to get into it. I wanted something with a little more structure and National Guard kind of gave me a piece of the military and be able to have a civilian life as well. So that's one of the main reasons I joined. We're both in the same unit for the military. So we both train together. We're both working in the tower.
I've always been interested in aviation, so I wanted to become a pilot. I started off at air traffic, see where it goes from there. I wanted to go to college, get a degree in something. Not sure exactly what yet.
After the colonel and the crew started catching fish, we decided to investigate.
Blind squirrel finds a nut once in a while. Good to see you're up for all day.
Joining me for the day of fishing on the American Heroes Outdoors boat was veteran Tim Flav.
Hey, he's on. He's a fighter.
Just when we turn the boat too, huh?
Oh, we got a fighter around here, fellas.
Nice and easy, you're doing a good job. Don't muscle him, just let him.
Nope.
Well, we just came down on the backside of a little reef and we were gonna go start up, and I told him to reel up, and he's reeling up, that's for sure.
I think he's a northern.
No such thing out here.
Look at this.
Jeez.
Holy cripes.
There's a fish. Looks a little bit yellow to be a northern.
Can't go up but any more, buddy. Yep, buddy.
Oh, that's a nice fish.
Yep, baby.
That's
and
awesome.
he spit it out already. Perfect. Once again, fellas, beautiful day on Mille Lacs.
It's moments like this that help the healing process of dealing with the everyday realities that many of our soldiers face.
Out of 13 siblings, 8 of us served in the military. My son is serving, and my son-in-law is currently serving with the division in Kuwait at this time. I remember like it was yesterday, the day the division lost those 3 soldiers, those 3 military police soldiers that got killed in Iraq and Basra. And the not knowing was probably one of the worst feelings I ever had in my life. I kind of lost it that day. I remember we were fielding our new tanks in the battalion, and you know, I didn't know what to think. But not knowing if that was my son, you know, I knew 3 soldiers that were military police soldiers that got killed over there, and I didn't know if it was my son or not, you know. So that took a lot out of me that day.
It was another great day on the water. I guess when you think about recapping the day, we caught fish.
Yeah, we did.
We had fun.
The fact that we're just off of work and out fishing on a beautiful day can't ask for anything more.
Yeah.
But super opportunity to get out. Dave, I really appreciate it.
It was a lot of fun.
It's been a lot of fun, bud.
Pleasure's mine.
Now it's time for the Scheels Hometown Hero.
Welcome to Scheels Hometown Heroes.
Scheels Hometown Heroes is a way for us to say thanks to those that serve our country and our community.
And are still giving back to others today.
We honor your service by sharing your stories.
From all of us at Scheels, thank you for your service.
Hey everybody, this is Troy from Scheels in Rapid City, South Dakota. Today we're at Angostura Reservoir. I got the privilege to fish with Kit Cline. We are honoring him as our next Scheels Hometown Hero.
I enlisted a couple days after my 18th birthday as a helicopter repairman, attended basic training at Fort McClellan, advanced individual training at Fort Rucker. You know, after a couple years of going out on test flights and encouragement from pilots, I went to flight school for Rucker, Alabama, was appointed warrant officer and pinned wings. Throughout that period, I continued flying the UH-1 utility helicopter, Iroquois, nicknamed Huey. And then we got into the transition years where we were transforming and upgrading equipment, and we transformed into a Blackhawk, a UH-60 utility helicopter equipped for medical evacuation. After retiring, I took some time off. I was working part-time for Scheels, which is where I met Troy and a lot of the other great Scheels people. That's a better fish. Nice smallie. Bring him up and maybe you'll bring him up, huh? That's a nice smallie.
Kit and I have known each other for probably 6 or 7 years. You know, he taught all of us a lot at Scheels, and then you know, it wasn't until a few years after that I actually found out his story of him being 33 years in the National Guard, flying Black Hawk helicopters. So he's definitely somebody I look up to and respect a whole bunch.
Had numerous stressful positions between the flying, the facilities management, just day-to-day life is stressful. So the outdoors is a great place. Just come out, relax a little bit, de-stress, enjoy what God has given us all.
I think he's a hometown hero. Mostly, I think a lot of the true heroes don't announce it. When you think of Kit, he was in the National Guard for 33 years. He flew Black Hawk helicopters. It took me a long time before he even told me that. He's not a bragger. He doesn't have the ego. He's here for people. He's not there for himself. He's always been a public servant. Every job he's had, he's done for the public. I think that's why he would be considered a hometown hero in Rapid City.
Spending some time in the water, showing someone that it matters what they did in a small way of taking them out and doing a little fishing. Just a small way to give back, I guess.
Now, Kit's a humble guy. Kit will never talk about himself. He's just not that kind of guy. And that's why I think he's a hometown hero. Because you know what? He lives in the Rapid City area. He'll come out and do events like taking folks fishing that we asked him to do. He's always there. He's got some background in the community, and I know he's just got a heart of gold, him and his family. So Kit is a hometown hero because he would never tell you he is. He'd never tell you that he did anything special in the military. And yet he was a pilot. He was a medevac pilot, okay? That's a pretty intense, special position, right? Our wounded are the most important thing to military leaders in a combat environment, even in a training environment. The time it takes to get an injury out of a field, think about that. That helicopter pilot, no matter what the conditions are, is the guy with his team that are gonna keep our soldiers safe. And that's what Kit did his whole career. So Kit Cline's a hometown hero.
It either didn't see us or it wasn't spooked by us, and it was one shot and that was it.
We're back and the seasons have changed. Fast forward to fall as Camp Ripley hosts yet another outdoor event, the Disabled Veterans Deer Hunt. The Deer Hunt is the longest running event and has paved the way for so many great programs that help get veterans back into the outdoors, doing what they once loved.
7:45, a deer just came out of nowhere, and I guess I got a lucky shot on him. This is the main hunt I do. I used to hunt from a standing vehicle, and it's nothing like this when you get to be out in the woods and not be freezing. My legs get cold when I'm sitting outside, so this is an opportunity to be outside and not feel really cold. That's what I like about it the most. This has become our own little version of deer camp, and deer camp in Minnesota is a huge tradition. I see the same faces year after year. It's my chance to reconnect with some of these veterans. Part of the mission of Camp Ripley is twofold. It's a place where we train soldiers for the nation's worst day. The other part of my mission is to be the best neighbor I can. And part of being the best neighbor I can is to reach out and try to pay back and pay forward to our veterans and to our currently serving soldiers to try to ease their lives, to give an opportunity that they might not have outside of this installation.
The bonds formed at these events last a lifetime, and their success is defined by those behind the scenes dedicated to serving those who served.
The fact that we're on Camp Ripley is kind of unique, but then the volunteers that come together from all of the different organizations to make this happen. For every hunter, there's probably 3 or 4 volunteers, from providing the food to guiding to provide the safety, and so it's the volunteerism that's involved here is, to me, quite an achievement in itself.
Saturday morning we'll start looking at, okay, this is what we need to improve on, here's what went well. We start working with food vendors to ensure that they're going to stay on board the next year to help cut the cost down. So it gets to be a late night and early morning, so you want to make sure you have enough volunteers so that we're not burning these guys out.
And so the military continues to train here during those hunts, and so we work really closely with range control staff to sit down and say, these are the areas that are going to be open to hunting, and then we sit down and figure out how we're going to divvy that up, how we're going to give each hunter a piece of real estate that they can hunt on that's not going to interfere with the other hunters, and also that are safe, so we aren't trying to squeeze too many people into the limited area that we have.
It started off with just a volunteer, and now it's a mission. It's a way of life. I don't know. I look forward to this event every year. And they're heroes. No matter how reluctant they are to say that they are a hero, they are. What they went through to be a member of the armed forces back then, they're heroes.
That's what it's all about. There's a lot of these guys that, they don't get a chance to do anything like this except here. And when they're here, they're completely different people. Okay, they get a chance to come back alive, and that's pretty amazing.
American Heroes Outdoors is brought to you by Scheels, Disabled American Veterans of Minnesota, Smoky Hills Outdoor Store, Gate City Bank, Skeeter Boats and Yamaha Outboards, Yamaha Power Products, Woodland Resort, S&S Promotional Group, Wheelers Point Resort, and Ice Castle Fish Houses.